There's a hidden reason your rituals feel empty, a silent force sabotaging your spiritual progress before you even begin. It's not about flawed techniques or the gods ignoring you. It's something far more subtle and far more dangerous. Picture this. You light the candles, speak the words, focus your will, yet deep down, something feels off. Why? Because the real obstacle isn't out there, it's inside you. And until you confront it, you'll stay trapped in the same loop forever. So what's really holding you back? And more importantly, how do you break free? Suspicion in spiritual practice is a corrosive force, subtly undermining the foundation of ritual and theurgy. Unlike discernment, a necessary trait for navigating spiritual realities, suspicion stems from unresolved trauma, paranoia, or ego-driven distrust. It distorts intent, weakens energetic focus, and isolates the practitioner from the very forces they seek to understand. In theurgy, trust is fundamental. You work with divine or higher forces, and suspicion, whether directed inward or outward, creates a barrier. Zevism rejects fear-based systems, advocating instead for conscious engagement with the gods. Suspicion, however, reintroduces fear through the back door. It is not reverence, but distrust disguised as caution, often rooted in past betrayals, dogmatic conditioning, or self-doubt. Paranoia will mess with intent, leading to self-sabotage. If you approach the ritual with subconscious doubts, are the gods even listening? Or what if I'm being deceived? The energy fractures. Magic operates on clarity and conviction. Hesitation breeds weak or distorted results. This aligns with the hermetic principle. As above, so below. If the mind is divided, the ritual's manifestation will be equally unstable. Another critical aspect is projection. Suspicion often reflects internal conflicts rather than external threats. If you fear deception, you may, in truth, fear your own capacity for self-deception. Suspicion is assumption without evidence, a defensive mechanism that stifles growth. To overcome suspicion in your practice, you can do the following. Replace vague unease with analytical questioning. Then you have discernment over distrust. Identify past wounds or betrayals that fuel paranoia. You also develop a warrior mentality by understanding the first virtue, bravery in the temple of Zeus. Fear is the most primal force shaping human experience. It stands at the threshold of rituals, invocations, moments of transcendence. It is serving simultaneously as protector and jailer. To progress spiritually, one must understand fear's dual nature, when it is an ally keeping us safe within wise boundaries, and when it is the invisible chain keeping us trapped in stagnation. Healthy fear is the instinctive caution that arises when approaching powerful forces with respect. It's the hesitation before invoking a deity for the first time, the prickle of awareness when working with unfamiliar energies, the sober understanding that some doors, once opened, cannot be easily closed. There is a distinction between servile fear, blind terror of punishment, and conscious reverence. We fear only when there are true causes, real violations. Our gods are not punishers that cannot teach. They are teachers that can reprimand heavily, but only as justice dictates. We respect them, we have a conscience, we learn, we accept trial and error. This form of fear is necessary. It maintains humility, prevents recklessness, and creates the container within which true power can safely grow. Just as a warrior respects their sword enough not to swing it blindly, a spiritual practitioner must respect the forces they engage. Toxic fear is the self-imposed prison, the true obstacle. Fear born not of wisdom, but of trauma, conditioning, or unconscious self-sabotage. This is the fear that whispers, "You're not worthy of the god's attention," before you even begin a ritual, or it convinces you entities will harm you if you reach out, or it makes you avoid energy work because, what if I mess up my chakras? This fear doesn't protect, it isolates. It's the equivalent of refusing to learn swimming because you might drown, thereby ensuring you'll never cross the waters to reach the sacred island. Fear operates at a low vibrational frequency. In magic, where clarity and focus determine results, fear operates at a low vibrational frequency. In magic, where clarity and focus are essential for achieving results, fear acts like static disrupting a radio signal. Meditation, in contrast, can feel like reaching out toward the power of faith, as faith stands in direct opposition to fear. When you approach a ritual with dread, such as asking, "What if I offend the gods?" that fearful energy becomes part of the working. It's not that the gods punish hesitation, rather, hesitation weakens the connection. Most catastrophic outcomes in spiritual work are either 1. Imaginary, fear-projected fantasies, or 2. The result of actual ethical violations which healthy fear would prevent. High Priest Hooded Cobra said, "The enemy did not only remove the tree of life, they removed first and foremost the tree of knowledge. This is the consciousness and spiritual understanding. Fear flourishes in ignorance. As knowledge grows, irrational fears dissolve. You shift your focus from, 'What if I fail?' to 'What will I learn?' The most insidious obstacle in spiritual work isn't failure, it's inauthenticity. Pretending, whether through hollow ritual repetition, performative mysticism, or forced devotion, creates a spiritual dead end. Unlike fear or suspicion, which at least signal engagement, however flawed, pretending is spiritual sleepwalking. The body goes through motions while the soul remains disengaged. This is not about being perfect in practice. It's about the difference between seeking truth and seeking validation, between authentic exploration and ego theater. There are 2 faces of spiritual pretense. Let's start with LARPing, live action role playing. The term is borrowed from fantasy gaming, but more importantly, describes those who perform rituals as identity props, using spirituality to appear mysterious, powerful, or special, rather than to transform. Adopt aesthetics without substance, obsessing over ceremonial tools, robes, or archaic language while neglecting actual energetic work. Chase experiences over understanding, collecting encounters with the gods or spirits like trophies, without integration or growth. This is the equivalent of wearing a surgeon's scrubs, but refusing to study anatomy. The second face of spiritual pretense is the fake it till you make it delusion. Some will mimic advanced techniques prematurely. They will attempt high-level workings without mastering fundamentals. Others will suppress doubts with dogma, reciting "I am a god" affirmations, while avoiding any responsibility. Watch the previous video about spiritual leadership if you want to understand more. Another form of pretense is when you confuse imagination with manifestation, assuming visualized fantasies equal real spiritual progress. Temple of Zeus teaches us if one does not have desire, or genuine curiosity or motivation in ritual and magic, they will not progress to see any results. Pretending creates a disconnect between action and intent, like mailing an envelope with no letter inside. When rituals become empty routines, when meditation turns into mindless repetition without any focus whatsoever, you never tolerate the weaker parts of yourself that succumb to ignorance, fear, and chaos. Without curiosity, practice becomes a chore, and the soul's fire dims. Pretending in spirituality is like building a house on a hologram. It may look impressive, but you can't live in it. The vital teachings of Temple of Zeus are clear. Zevism is a spiritual system to develop you. The gods will never give up on you. They never gave up on anyone that didn't give up on themselves. Suspicion, fear, and pretense are not just isolated mistakes. They form a trinity of spiritual stagnation, each reinforcing the others in a self-perpetuating cycle. Like 3 locks on the same door, they keep practitioners trapped in illusion, preventing the very breakthroughs they claim to seek. Yet, when confronted with clarity, these obstacles reveal themselves not as walls, but as initiatory tests, thresholds to cross rather than prisons to inhabit. Suspicion breeds fear. Fear fuels pretense. Pretense deadens curiosity, and without curiosity, suspicion and fear rule. When you distrust spiritual forces, suspicion, you hesitate to engage fully, fear, which leads to going through empty motions, pretense. Another way to view it is how unexamined fear, what if I'm not ready, morphs into paranoia. The gods will punish my mistakes, which then normalizes surface-level practice. I'll just do the bare minimum. And then when rituals become performative habits, the mind stops questioning, and unexamined fears, suspicions solidify into delusion. How do you deal with the path of this labyrinth? You do a conscious disruption. Replace suspicion with discernment. Question intelligently, not reflexively. You transmute fear into respect. Let healthy caution guide, not paralyze. You exchange pretense for curiosity. Prioritize authentic exploration over ego-stroking.